How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Beis, Daf 2 of Masechta BavaBasra. Givaldig. Alright, who's excited for BavaBasra? Alright, here we go. BavaBasra is going to be great. Wait, are these on? Yeah, now they're off. Now they're on. Noise, go away. Alright. Okay. BavaBasra, longest Masechta in Shas, but hopefully not the most difficult. I don't know what else is there to say. I've learned already the first few daf. It's like a combination of like Eruvin and interesting Agadita. So here we go. Today is going to be more of the Eruvin part. But all right, here we go. I don't know what else to say. Hashutvin, says the Mishnah and Beis Amud Aleph. Hashutvin, the partners Shiratzu. Okay, this Mishnah is very technical. It is very, very technical. It kind of relies on the Gemara to like explain certain things. But anyways, Hashutvin, the partners Shiratzu lasos mechitza b'chotzer. They wanted to make a wall, and then a divider, a wall that was over as a divider. Let's talk a shaila in the Gemara. It relies a lot on the Gemara to kind of get into the details. There's a lot of details here. So you basically have two people have a chutzner, and a chutzner like an eruvin. You know that you have two houses that open up into a shared space, into a shared courtyard, and they want to make a wall in the middle. And the big inyan here, the big shaila here, is what's called hezik re'iyah. It's about privacy, right? It's that, meaning why put up a wall? Well, Shimon doesn't want Reuven looking at his business, seeing what he's doing all the time. So put up a wall for shtickle privacy. Hezik re'iyah. Literally, I guess the translation would be damage of seeing, right? That by looking at stuff, it's a form of damage. But it's privacy be'etzim, right? So part of the shaila is, and we're gonna discuss this in the Gemara, is do we say hezik re'iyah shmei hezik? Do we say hezik re'iyah lo shmei hezik? If you say hezik re'iyah shmei hezik, that privacy is an important thing, so then they have to put up, whatever the Gemara is. There's so many details here. It says shutfin sheratzu lasos, that only if they wanted to, but if it's hezik re'iyah shmei hezik and you need to have privacy, so why is it up to them? Anyways. So all right. So you have a jointly owned courtyard, and they want to make a mechitza. Again, in the Gemara we're gonna talk about what does it mean that they want to. They want to make a wall as a divider in the middle of the chotzer. Bonin es hakosel be'emtza, so they make the wall in the middle of the chotzer. Mokim shenagu, livnos, gvil gozes, kfisin levenin, bonin, akol kvi minag amedina. Akol kvi minag amedina. We had this taka the other day at the end of Masechta Bav Metzia. Gvil is unhewn stones. Gozes is hewn stones. Kfisin is half bricks. Levenin is full bricks. Now the thing is, so unhewn stones the wall is 6 tfachim thick. Hewn stones, the wall is 5 tfachim thick. Half bricks, the wall is 4 tfachim thick, because each half brick is 1.5 tfachim, and you'll have a half a brick with a tefach of mortar in the middle, and then another half brick, so basically 1.5 tfachim, followed by a tefach, which is 2.5 tfachim, followed by another 1.5 tfachim, which is 4 tfachim, and a brick is just 3 tfachim. Okay, so you have 6, 5, 4, 3. Okay, so again, second line of the Mishnah. Mokim shenagu livnos gevil. If the minig is to make the wall with unhewn 6 tefach wide walls, gozis or hewn stones 5 tefach wide walls, kfisin half bricks 4 tefachim wide walls, levenin bricks 3 tefach wide walls, bonin, so akol kiminig amedina. So whatever the minig was in that place, they would make that kind of a wall. Bigvil zenoisein gimel tfachim zenoisein gimel tfachim. So if it's made out of unhewn stones, which is 6 tfachim thick, so then each will have to contribute 3 tfachim from his part of the chotzer. Because if we're talking about hewn stones, which is therefore a 5 tefach thick wall, so each one has to contribute 2.5 tefachim to the 5 tefach thick wall. Bechvisin, with half bricks, which is a 4 tefach wide wall. Zenosin tefachim, so each one contributes 2 tefachim. Belevenin, with a brick, which is 3 tefachim wide. Zenosin tefach b'mechza, zenosin tefach b'mechza, each one gives 1.5, contributes 1.5 tefachim. Lefichach, therefore, im nafel hakosel, if the kosel falls down, if the wall falls down, and basically it was an even split between the two parties, hamakim ve'avonim shel shneim, so the place where the wall was and all of the stones gets divided equally between the two of them. B'chein begina, okay, this is going to require some explanation in the Gemara. B'chein begina makom shnagu ligdor mechayven also, and similarly in a garden. The Gemara is going to kind of explain it. In a garden, the minig is similarly that they would put up a wall. But in a valley, which is an open area, which is not generally, a valley is not generally considered a private area. A chotzer is a private area. A gina is a private area. Certainly, somebody's house is a private area. A valley is not a private area. So makom shnagu shelo ligdor ein mechayven also. So then, if Reuven and Shimon jointly own some kind of like a field or something in a valley, or property in a valley, we would not, if one of them wants to make a wall, the other one does not have to comply, because it's not a private space. Elo imrotza. Now, if let's say Shimon wants to make this wall in the valley, but Ruvain doesn't, so Shimon can't compel Ruvain. So konis esoch shelo uvone. If Shimon wants privacy in the valley, he can't compel Ruvain to contribute 50% of the wall. What he can do is then he can put up the wall in his part of the valley, in his part of the property. So he can make the wall in his part of the property. And he makes some kind of a marker on the outside as an indication that it's his, right? That he's the one who constructed the wall and that all the materials are his. Lefichach, therefore, if the wall falls down, amokim, the place where the wall is, va'avonim, and the stones, shalo, belong to Shimon, who constructed the wall himself for himself. Im osu midashneim. Now, but if both of them are on board, so Shimon says to Reuven, "Hey Reuven, why don't we make a wall in our property in the valley?" And Reuven says, "That's a great idea." So bonin es hakosel be'emsa. So in that case, they would build the wall in the middle of Osin chozes mikan and mikan. They would make some kind of a sign on either side. And the Gemara is going to explain this as well. The fichach im nafel hakosel hamakom ve'avonim shel shneim. So in that case, if the wall falls down, so then the place where the wall is, the space where the wall is, and the stones belong to both of them because they had split it. Okay, look, the first Amud Be'etzem of BavaBasra is Be'etzem that Mishnah. So I guess that moved relatively quickly. Who knows? Maybe this will go quicker than I thought. Yeah, it might actually not be that long of a daf. Yeah, actually. Now that I'm thinking of it, yeah, probably won't be that long. But it's not. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We just learned the Mishnah. All right, pat on the back. But let's get to the Gemara now. Now, alrighty. This Gemara is going to be just kind of like the Mishnah, I guess. The Gemara is going to be kind of like the Mishnah. A little bit technical. It has to do a lot with this concept that we mentioned a few minutes ago of Hezek Re'eh Shmei Hezek, Hezek Re'eh Lo Shmei Hezek. What can we infer from our Mishnah? But some stuff is gonna needs like some stuff isn't going to make sense initially, and it's going to make more sense towards the end of the Gemara. Zogt the Gemara Savua my mechitza guda. Okay, so the shaila is, when it says in our Mishnah, Shutvin shiratzu lasos mechitza b'chotzer, that if they want to make a mechitza in the chotzer, what does that mean? So I'm pretty sure I explained it as meaning they want to make a wall in the chotzer. They want to make a wall to divide the chotzer. And another way to explain it could be that they want to divide the chotzer. They want to divide the chotzer, not necessarily build a wall per se, but divide it. And then the shaila is, okay, maybe you could divide it without a wall, right? There's something called a what's it called? A mesipos. Mesipos, I like to think as like a police tape. You know, it's not a wall. It's just a division. It's something that marks off an area. You know, so it's like these pegs that you put in to the floor. So you can see through. It's not going to help you with privacy. But so the question is, are we talking about building a wall, or are we talking about dividing up the chutzner? If we're talking about building a wall, it means mamish build a wall. You know, if you're using gevil, it's a 6-step achtik wall. But if you're talking about dividing up the chutzner, you could use police tape. You know, use police tape. You know, so that's the shaila. So savua my mechitza. So they figured, what is a mechitza? Guda, mamish a wall. A mechitza, we're talking about a wall. They wanted to put up a wall. Kedetanya is learning in the Brisa, mechitza sakerim shenifritza. Omer lo gedor, chazu v'nifritza, omer lo gedor. Nisyai shemena v'lo godra areze, kidesh v'chai b'achrayusa. So if you have Shimon has a vineyard, and Ruvain has a grainyard. Now that is a word. A grainyard. Is that actually a word? A vineyard is where you grow grapes. Is a grainyard where you grow grain? Or a wheat yard? A wheat yard. Well, I guess technically it wouldn't be called a wheat yard because a vine, it's not called a grape yard. It's a vineyard. It's a vineyard. It's like a vineyard. So it would be like a stockyard. A stockyard. Right, wheat grows on stalks, so a stockyard. Okay, so if Shimon's got a vineyard and Reuven's got a stockyard, that's a good word. A stockyard. All right, write it down. A stockyard. Okay. So Shimon's got a vineyard and Reuven's got a stockyard. Now the thing is, maybe a stockyard is actually a word. Well, I mean, it makes sense. If a vineyard is a vineyard, then a stockyard should be a stockyard. So if Shimon has a vineyard, and then Reuben has a stockyard, and they're right next to each other. Now, the issue, of course, as you're all yelling, I can hear you yelling and screaming into your car speakers. Kilei Akerem! Kilei Akerem! Surely it's Kilei Akerem! It's Kilei Akerem! So I know that's what you're all screaming. So that's the shaila. So you have to be concerned about kilei akerim, right? So on this side of the fence, Shimon is growing grapes in his vineyard, and on that side of the fence, Reuven is growing his wheat in his stockyard. So now, zavua my mechitza guda. So what is the mechitza in the Mishnah? It's a wall. Kedetani is, we learn in the Brisa. How do you know that mechitza is a wall? I'll tell you how we know a mechitza is a wall. Mechitza sakerim, a wall of a vineyard, shenifritza, that got breached, and now there's a big shaila about if the grapes get too close to the wheat, then you have an issue of kilei akerim. So Omer lo gedor. So Reuven says to Shimon, can you fix the breach in the wall? So Omer lo gedor, chazav v'nifritza Omer lo gedor. So if it gets breached, nochamo. So again, Reuven says to Shimon, hey, fix the breach. Nisyai shemena, but if Shimon doesn't do it, he couldn't be bothered. V'lo gadra, and he didn't fix it. Areze kidesh v'chai b'achrayusa. So then then things become kilei akerim, and it sounds like Shimon would be responsible. The point, though, being, of course, the point that we want to learn here is not halacha about kilei akerim, but it's that a mechitza is a wall. Okay, so therefore in our Mishnah when it says Hashutfin Sherotzu Lasus Mechitza, it means that they wanted to make a wall. So now says the Gemara, V'taima dirotzu. Now we're saying Hashutfin Sherotzu Lasus Mechitza, that they wanted to make a wall. That Reuven and Shimon jointly own this chutzner, and Shimon says to Reuven, you want to make a wall? Reuven says, of course I want to make a wall. That's a great idea. Let's make a wall. So taima dirotzu, because they both wanted, they both were excited about it. Hello, Ratsu, ein mechayvin also. But if Shimon says to Reuven, hey Reuven, why don't we make a wall in the middle of the chutz? Reuven says, I don't want to make a wall. Okay, well then you don't have to make a wall. Al me'ezik riya lo shme'ezik. So we see then that hezek riya, the fact that Shimon wants privacy, is not something we can enforce. Right? Hezek riya lo shmei hezek. Ve'ema mechitza plugta, but then says the Gemara, wait, but maybe I'll say that no, what's a mechitza? Not a wall, but a plugta, a division. They want to divide the chutzner. As the pasuk says, "Vati mechza sa'eda," that the division of the congregation, I guess. So mechitza could be a division, not necessarily a wall. And once they want to build a wall, so they davka build a. So then once already they want to build a wall, so they have to build a wall. This is where things get a little bit murky. We're gonna it's gonna be a little bit more understandable towards the end. I think actually even completely understandable. But for now, we'll just say that v'chevim deratu bonin es akosel bal korcho. Okay, that be'etzim what we're getting at over here is that according to this way, and again we're gonna see later on what exactly this is talking about, but let's just say according to this view, we would say al mehezek riyish mehezek. You have to build a wall, and therefore hezek riyish mehezek. Later on we're gonna say, well, if hezek riyish mehezek, what does it mean? Ratzu, that they wanted to? I mean, they don't have a choice. Okay. I told you it's a little bit weird for now, but alma hezek riyish mehezek. According to this view, hezek riyah is hezek, and therefore you have to, privacy is an important thing, and you have to build that wall. Reuven can't say, I don't want to build that wall. Wait, but if you're going to say that it means a division, not necessarily a wall, but a division, and if you say that, then ultimately where you end up with is hezek riyah shmei hezek. But then it shouldn't say Shiratzu Lasus Mechitza, it should say Shiratzu Lachtzos. Not that they wanted to build a wall, but they wanted to divide. But Ella my Guda. Okay, to which the Gemara says, and what? And what are you suggesting? That Mechitza is a wall? You're not much better off that way when you say Mechitza is a wall, because then I can ask you the following question, is Bonin Sakoso or Bonin Osumi Baile? Right, the Mishnah says Hashutfin Shortzu Lasus Mechitza b'chotzer. Right, they want to make a mechitza. Bonin es akosel. They build the wall. But if you're saying a mechitza is a wall, then why do you have to say bonin es akosel? You should say bonin oso. Build it, the wall. So, like, if you want to nitpick over here and say it can't be a division because then it shouldn't say mechitza, it should say lachtzos. But why is your suggestion any better when you're saying that it means a wall? Well, if it's a wall, then why does it say bonin es akosel? It should say bonin oso. So, where am I? Well, itana oso. So the Gemara answers no. Mechitza does mean a wall. All right. Then why does it say bonin es akosel? Can it just say bonin oso? Well, no, because we needed to make a point that when we say kosel, it means a real kosel, a real thick wall. Right? Itana oso. If it would just say it without saying a wall, havamina b'mesipas ba'alma. I would think you can use like police tape. Just put up some kind of a divider. These pegs in the floor, but not for privacy, just to show where Reuven's ends and where Shimon starts. Kamashmal and Kosel. No, we are talking about a wall. It needs to be a wall. Okay, so what we want to say right now is that Ashutfin Shortzu Lasus Mechitza means that they want to make a wall. And it's because they want to make a wall. But if they don't want to make a wall, they don't have to make a wall. So Hezek Re'iyah Lav Shmei Hezek. Bonin es hakosel be'emtza. Okay, so we say that they build the wall in the middle. Pshita, that should be obvious. Where else are you going to build it? Obviously, you build it in the middle, split it between the two. Well, it's talking about where one of them convinced the other one. Shimon goes over to Reuven and says, "Hey, Reuven, why don't we build a wall? It's going to be great." And Reuven says, "Okay, fine. Let's build a wall. It'll be great." Mao the Tema may have thought that Reuven can later say to Shimon, wait. All of a sudden Shimon starts bringing the construction crews, and he's building with Gvil, and it's a 6 tefach thick wall, and all of a sudden Reuven's like, whoa, this is not what I was imagining. Reuven could say to Shimon, Ki ba'avira. When I said, sure, let's make a wall, I thought we were talking about take a piece of wood, take a piece of plywood, maybe take some mats or something, stand them up vertical, make like a mechitza kazeh. All of a sudden, I didn't agree to something that's going to infringe on my ability to use my courtyard. It's taking 3 tefachim from my court. I'm not on board. Kamash Malon. So what it's saying is, no, Reuven cannot say that. Rather, the wall is built in the middle, and it is divided equally between them, however wide it might be. Vehezik re'iyah lav shmei hezik. So now the Gemara is going to ask 6 questions on hezik re'iyah lav shmei hezik. Right. So again, we had just said that the Mishnah is saying that if they want to make a wall, but if they don't want to make a wall, they don't have to make a wall. So we're saying hezik re'iyah lav shmei hezik. Now, is that true? The Gemara is going to ask 6 kashas. So, Hezek Riyah, Lav Shmei Hezek, is it really so that Hezek Riyah is not considered Hezek? Tashma, come here, V'chein Begino. That, also similarly, in a garden. What about a garden? Well, similarly in a garden, you build a wall because you need privacy in a garden. Gina shiny, no, Gina is an Andrazach. There's a separate reason for why a garden needs, you need to put up a wall. K'derab Abba, like we learned, I think it was on Daf, wasn't it on Kufches? Was on Daf Kufches? Kuf Zayin. Alright. And Daf Kuf Zayin of Masech Bava Metzia. K'derab Abba, Merab Abba, Mervuna Merab, Osir le'odem lamod bisdei chaver b'shah, that a person can't stand in somebody else's field when it is all fully grown and everything, because it's going to be an ayin hara. So it's an andrazach. It's not a privacy thing. It's an ayin hara thing. But what do you mean? It says v'chein, and the same would apply. So meaning, if whatever the halacha is by a chotzer would be the same for a garden. So don't tell me that it's unique. We're saying v'chein, it's the same. Agvil v'gazes. No, it's similar in terms of the hewn stone, unhewn stone, half bricks, full bricks, right? In terms of that stuff, the halachas are the same. But in terms of the rationale, they would be different rationales. Tashma. Come in here. Kosel chotzer shenofol mechayvin oso livnos ad dalid amis. This is a mission that we're going to see on Daf Hey. So if you have a wall in a chotzer, and that wall falls down, so kosel chotzer shenofol, I'm reading that again, if the wall in the chotzer fell, mechayvin oso livnos ad dalid amis. So they need to put it back. Right? Nobody can say, wait, I don't want to rebuild it. No. If it was there before, you rebuild it up to 4 amas in height. So we see that we're building a wall. That you need to build this wall. Because Hezek Rish may Hezek. No full shiny. No, it's different if it fell down. Because if it fell down, that means that that means that it was there to begin with. Which means that at some point, they had agreed to build it. So you could say Hezek Riyah Lav Shmei Hezek, but since they had obviously at some point agreed to build it, if it falls down, then you restore it, but it doesn't necessarily mean Hezek Riyah Shmei Hezek. V'dekarila my karila, the one who asks the question, shouldn't that be obvious that, if it fell down, you're just going to restore it. It's not necessarily a raya for Hezek Riyah Shmei Hezek, right? Meaning, if it was there before, so you restore it to how it was. So, Seifa Itzricha Le, that we need it for the Seifa, because maybe what it means, Davka, is Taka Hezek Ria Shmei Hezek, that we're at the meaning. The only reason why the Mishnah is talking about where it fell down is because Seifa Itzricha Midalat Amis Ulamailo Ein Mechayvin Oso. That meaning there's a unique halacha to when the wall falls down and they're restoring it, which is that they must, the obligation to restore it is only up to 4 amis. Higher than that, if Reuben doesn't want to build it higher than 4 amis, he doesn't have to. So what I could argue is actually Hezek Re'iyah Shmei Hezek, right? And why is it talking about a wall that specifically fell down? We're talking about a wall that specifically fell down because they wanted to teach us that when a wall falls down, the obligation to rebuild it is only up to 4 amis, but not higher than that. But it's not necessarily so. Meaning, initially we're assuming that it's obvious that the reason why you have to rebuild it is because it fell down. So obviously you're just restoring it. It's not necessarily proof for Hezek Re'iyah. But you could say that, well, maybe the only reason why we're talking about a wall that Dafka fell down is because of the Seifa, which teaches us that when it falls down, the obligation to rebuild is only up to 4 amis. But that's the only reason why it's teaching nafal. But in terms of the other halachis, maybe it makes no difference whether it fell or whether it didn't fall. And you could say, you need to build a wall, Hezek Re'iyah Shmei Hezek, to which we're saying no, nafal shiny, and you're only putting it back up because it was there beforehand, and it's not necessarily a proof for Hezek Re'iyah Shmei Hezek. Tashma Kamanir Kofin also livnos beis shar videles lechotzer. So this is a shtickle Erevini. When I saw this in the Gemara, I said, there must be a diagram for this. And sure enough, the art school has a diagram. Remember, Masechta Erevin, we needed to use diagram. You can't learn Masechta Erevin without. I don't see how you could learn. Is it possible to learn Masechta Erevin without a diagram? I don't understand how. You need the diagrams for Masechta Erevin. Otherwise, you don't know. You have to see what it looks like. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Rashi doesn't even give you 1,000 words, so you need the pictures. Anyways, so Rashi is very succinct. Basically, I'll try to explain it the best I can. Remember in like Erevin when I would just like try to explain stuff, even though I had no illusions that anybody how well can you explain stuff that you need to see? But anyways, okay, so what are we saying? So Toshma, okay, so let's say you have a guy who's part of like a chotzer, and that chotzer opens up to Rishus HaRabim, okay? Or maybe a Mavi or something. 1 second, Shabbatim calls the negative shire, August of chotzer, I guess. Yeah. It sounds like you have a chotzer. Yeah, it sounds like you have a chotzer that opens up into Rishus HaRabim, and the people don't want that everybody in Rishus HaRabim should be looking into their chatzer. So what they do is they build some kind of, gate around the gate so that nobody should be able to look in, right? So that, you have to like walk into something before you could walk into the gate or whatever. And everybody needs to contribute. Everybody needs to contribute. There's no saying I don't want to. Everybody needs to contribute. Why does everybody need to contribute? Because Hezek Re'iyah Shmei Hezek. Because of privacy. So again, Tashma, Kamanir Kofin also livnos beis shar videles lechotzer, that we force everybody in the chotzer to contribute to the gate and the door of the chotzer so that people can't look in. Shma min Hezek Re'iyah Shmei Hezek. So we see that Hezek Re'iyah Shmei Hezek. Hezek D'Rabim Shiny. So we say, Eino Chinami. But that's the public, you don't need the entire public walking by and looking into your chotzer. Sure, that's different. But maybe just Reuven and Shimon in their own private chotzer, maybe we would not apply Hezek Re'iyah Shmei Hezek. Udiyachid lo, and what? If it's private, so then we would not say Hezek Re'iyah Shmei Hezek. Tashma, come here. In cholkin es chotzer achi yeheba daled amis loze v'daled amis loze. That when we talk about putting up a wall in a chotzer, the chotzer needs to be large enough so that there will be 4 amas for each of them. That Reuven will have 4 amas, Shimon will have 4 amas. But if it's only like 7 amas total, which means you divide it in half, each one gets 3.5. So it's there's not enough for each of them to get 4 amas. Well then you don't divide it up. Okay, so again, in cholkin es achotzer, you don't divide up the chotzer achi eba dal amas lozer v'dal amas lozer. There has to be enough for 4 amas for each of them. But if there is 4 amas for each of them, then you would divide it up. So why would you divide it up? Sounds like hezik riyish me hezik. My love, bikosel. And mistam, what we're saying is that when there's 4 amas for each, you would divide it up with a wall in the middle, a wall that neither of them can see through, so that there's privacy. Lo b'misipos ba'alma, no, with just this misipos, with this kind of divider, but a divider that you can see through. How do you define misipos? Do we have a definition of misipos over here? It's like, I think it's just like reeds and sticks. It's like it's like, the things on the side of the road, I think, like those orange things with the reflectors on them on the side of the road to just like keep you from going in the gutter. In the shoulder. But it's a see-through thing. Toshma, hachloinis ben milamaylo ben milamato ben mikenegdon dalid amis. Okay, so if you have neighbors, Reuven and Shimon are neighbors, and Reuven in his house, he has windows. And so if Shimon is making a wall, so the wall has to be, if it's above the windows, it has to be at least 4 amas above the windows, so that Shimon can't look down over the wall and look into Reuven's windows. If the wall that Shimon is building is below Reuven's windows, there has to be 4 tfachim, 4 amas. I don't know if I said tfachim, but 4 amas from the top of the wall to Reuven's windows, so that you can't stand on top of the wall and look into Reuven's windows. And if Shimon is building a wall parallel to Reuven's windows, well then he has to leave at least 4 amas of space between Reuven's window and his wall, so that his wall isn't, basically blocking Reuven's window and his sunlight. So again, where are we? Toshma, come in here. Hachlonis. When it comes to windows, okay, interesting. When it comes to windows, bein milamayla, bein milamato. That didn't, no. Okay, wait, I thought I had turned off. Let me turn that off. Okay. What am I doing here? Alright. When it comes to windows, tashma, chalon is bein milamayla, bein milamato, whether above, whether below, or whether opposite, dalad amas, we need 4 amas, b'tani alam, we taught milamayla, that the top of Shimon's wall would have to be at least 4 amas above Reuven's window, so that Shimon can't look into Reuven's window, milamaton, and below Reuven's window, yamod v'yira. It has to be 4 amas from the top of Shimon's wall until Reuven's windows, so that Shimon can't stand on top of his wall and look into Reuven's windows. Mikenegdon, and if Shimon is building a wall opposite Reuven's windows, kidei shelo yaipil, so that Shimon's wall shouldn't, block Reuven's sunlight. So we see that we're concerned about Shimon looking into Reuven's windows, i.e. we're concerned about privacy, i.e. hezek riyish me hezek, even for individuals. Hezek the bai is shiny. Well, that's specifically talking about a house. A house is obviously a particularly private space, more so than a chutzner. So sure, in a house, definitely hezek re'iyah applies to a house, that's for sure. But we're talking about a chutzner. Toshma, come in here. The Amr of Nachman says of Nachman Amar Shmuel, in the name of Shmuel, Gag asamuch lichotzer chaveru. If Shimon's roof is next to Reuven's chotzer, right? So Reuven's chotzer is down below, and Shimon's roof is adjacent and is obviously higher up, so that Shimon can look down into Reuven's chotzer. So Osin lo maike gavoa dalad amas. So Shimon must make a wall around his roof that is at least 4 amas tall, so that he can't see into Reuven's chotzer. So we see, because we're concerned about Reuven's privacy. So Hezek Rish Me Hezek. Shiny Awesome, that's also different. The Amrle Balachotzel of Alagad, because Reuven says to Shimon, Nedidi Kvili Tashmishai. Look, a chotzer is a place that is used all day. Right, Rashi, what did Rashi say? The first Rashi in BavaBasra, the second line of the first Rashi in BavaBasra, V'chol chatzer sheshanu chacham lefnei abotim mein, v'rov tashmisha b'chatzer. Most of what they did was out in the chatzar, right? They would use the courtyard to do everything. They were cooking, business, playing, whatever. They would do everything in the chatzar. So Reuven says to Shimon, look, I'm in my chatzar all the time. That's like my main place where I do stuff. L'didach lo kvialoch tashmishteich. But you don't spend all of your time on your roof. You go there from time to time, but I have no clue when you're there and when you're not there, that I should know, I should be aware, that Shimon's going to be there, and I'll be, I won't do anything sort of private when Shimon's there, but I don't know when you're going on your roof. I don't know when you go to your roof. That I should, I don't know when you're going to be there, when you're not going to be there, and therefore I don't know to kind of when I should be aware that you might be looking, and therefore in that arrangement specifically, that is why Shimon needs to put up. So we would say Ezek Rish Me Ezek over there, just because Reuven says like this doesn't work for me because I don't know when you're going to be there. And therefore we would say there Hezek Rish Me Hezek, but we wouldn't necessarily say when Reuven and Shimon just jointly own a chatzar, we can argue that Hezek Riyah Lav Shmei Hezek. Okay, so we just explained this whole mahalech that we were saying Hezek Riyah Lo Shmei Hezek. Now Lishna Achrina, says the Gemara, Amrila Savrua my mechitza plugta. Alright, so now we got to make sense of this mahalech, because this mahalech is a little weird. What does mechitza mean? It means a division. The Chsiv, the Apostle says, "Vati mechza sa'eda," right? That part of the congregation. And since they want to make this division, then they build a wall against their will. Okay, this is really only going to make sense towards the end. Alma Hezek Riyah Shmei Hezek. So we see that they need to build a wall, so Hezek Riyah Shmei Hezek. But I'll suggest, just like just the opposite discussion that we had earlier, right? I'll say that it means a wall, right? The Tani Mechitzas Hakerem Shenifritov. You have the wall of the vineyard that gets breached. Omerlo. So Reuven says to Shimon Gedor, fix the breach. Nifritov, if it gets breached again. Omerlo Gedor. Reuven says, hey, Shimon, fix the breach. Nisyai Shimon, if Shimon doesn't do it. Velo Gadra, and he doesn't fix the wall. Hareze Kidesh. So then Shimon's going to be responsible for the fact that Reuven's wheat gets all messed up. So we see the point being that a mechitza is a wall. So v'taima de ratzu, and let's say that the reason is because they wanted to make a wall, halo ratzu, but if they didn't want to make a wall, also we don't force either one of them to make a wall. So alma Hezek Riyah Lav Shmei Hezek. Hezek Riyah is not Hezek. So Yochi, if that was the case, that we're talking about a wall, bonin is hakosa, bonin also mi boile. Then why does it say that build the wall? Say build it. So Ella my plugta. So what you're going to say that mechitza means a division? Yochi sheratzu lasos mechitza sheratzu lachzos mi boile. Instead of saying that they want to make a mechitza, just say that they wanted to divide up. So that's just like the people say tov and avid plugta. Let's make let's go and make a division. So we could say mechitza. That means they wanted to make a division. All right. Now, to understand this sort of tzad, which is kind of weird to understand, right? So remember, what exactly was this thing? So we want to say that mechitza means a division. Okay, so if the Shutvin wanted to make a division, so then we force them to make a wall, and therefore Hezek Riyah Shmei Hezek. But the Hezek Riyah Shmei Hezek, if we hold that Hezek Riyah Shmei Hezek, my area Ratzu Afilu Ratzu Nami, what's the deal with they wanted to make a wall or a division? Forget about they want to or not. If we say Hezek Riyah Shmei Hezek, they should have to put up a wall. So Amr of Asi Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishnaseinu kishe'ein ba din chaluka. So our Mishnah is talking about where the chutzner is less than 8 amas, right? There is not enough space for each of them to have 4 amas by 4 amas, and therefore they would not have to, even if you say hezek riyah shmei hezek, you would not have to divide up the mechitza if they're going to be left with less than 4 amas by 4 amas. V'hu dirotzu. And we're saying, but if they want to make a wall, so then they make a wall. So my kamash malan, okay, so what's it teaching us? The chileis bei din chaluka, that when the chutzner is too small, ki ratzu, if they want to make a mechitza palge, then they divide it up. But Tanina, we already know that from a Mishnah. Mosai, when do we say that when it's less than, if there's not a proper amount for each of them, they don't divide it up? Bizman she'ein shneim rotzim, if they don't both want to divide it up, aval bizman she'shneim rotzim, but if they do both want to divide it up, afilu pochis mikan cholkin, well then they would divide it up even if it's going to be too small. So we already know from that other Mishnah that we would divide it up. So I mehosam, well if it was from there, hava amino afilu pochis mikan b'mesipas be'alma. Well, I might think from there, what does it mean that we divide it up with the mesipas, with police tape, like a division that you could see through. Kamash manocha kosel. So here we're saying in Stavka, a wall. Aha. So we're saying that a mesipas that you can see through doesn't work because hezek, I think the point is because hezek riyah shmei hezek. Okay? So we're saying that if they want to, so what does it mean if they want to divide it up? It's because the chutzner is too small. So normally they wouldn't have to divide it up. But if they want to divide it up, they can't divide it up. And if they're going to be dividing it up, well then you have to use a wall because hezek riyah shmei hezek. And obviously if the chutzner is big enough, you would have to build a wall because of hezek riyah, right? But because it's too small, you don't have to build a wall. But if they want to build it, so what they build is a wall, not a mesipis. So why don't we just teach our Mishnah, which makes it clear that you have to use a wall in hezek riyah shmei hezek, and we don't need that other one, which isn't clear about needing a wall. So sefer tzricha le, well, because over there's a chiddush there in the Mishnah, that when it comes to sefer, like a sefer Torah, for example, if I guess Reuven and Shimon jointly own the sefer Torah, you wouldn't divide it in half. It has to be one scroll, right? So that you wouldn't divide it in half. So that's why we need the other Mishnah there for that chiddush. All right, chevra, that was the first daf of Masechta BavaBasra. Chatzeris, Eruvin. We talk a quote. Do we even quote things in Eruvin already? I think we do. If not today, then tomorrow. I think. Yeah, there's some Eruvin stuff over here, diagrams. But that's it. We talk. But the main machlokas of today's daf though was hezek riyah shmei hezek or not. Right? According to the first way that we explained the Mishnah, hezek riyah lav shmei hezek. Then we said hezek riyah shmei hezek. Hezek riyah be'etzem being privacy. Right? Do people have the right to privacy and to demand to insist that a wall be put up so that nobody is getting in anybody else's business. That was daf Beis, daf 2 of Masechta BavaBasra. We only have another 175 left to go. See you tomorrow. Peace out.